We all know having insurance is important, but there is so much. Home insurance and car insurance and life insurance. And just how important is it all? And do you need it all? Joining me this morning to help sort it all out, Rob Mitchell of Mitchell Insurance Agency. Rob, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
You're confused. You're an independent agency dealer. We'll get to that in a minute. But
Correct.
How confusing insurance can be to folks?
It can be very confusing. There's so many different kinds of insurance and types of insurance. Everything that anybody would look at when it comes to insurance, whether it's an auto, does that going to cover my motorcycle? It is.
If I got a boat, we'll have the boat.
You got an RV, where's the RV go? It's very cumbersome when it comes to what type of program can I get to cover everything.
Well, but the good news is you are an independent agent, and if I understand correctly, that means because you're independent, you get to pick and choose a little bit from different agencies?
Correct. Being an independent allows us to use multiple different companies to try to find that best fit for each individual client. As opposed to a direct writer or somebody that you might see at a 1-800 number, that's their option, that's all they have. We're at an independent office, we have a handful of different companies that we can use to try to tailor the insurance for each individual client.
Give me an example of some of the companies that you work with.
One of the companies that we use here locally is Grange Insurance. Grange is a financially sound company.
You know, everyone knows Grange, obviously they're even based here in Columbus.
Based here in Columbus, got their new building right downtown. Their claims is outstanding. In a recent survey, 96% of the people they surveyed said that they would refer Grange after a claim to their family member or friends. That's a pretty good endorsement for Grange Insurance.
Yeah, that's saying a lot. So what can you do for folks if they come to you and they have all those problems, they're not sure what kind of insurance they want, or more importantly, how much money they can spend on the insurance that they need?
Well, the insurance, the reason an independent agent is very helpful is insurance is there's so much data now that how far you drive to work, how many cars do you have.
All that impacts the bottom line.
Everyone impacts the bottom line differently with each company. So each company can look at you as an individual and say, here's your rate. They look at a different company, can give you a completely different rate. So each company has their own parameters. So that's why it's best to try to find that independent agent.
You do all the work for them.
But that's the enjoyable part of the job. We get to be with the public, we get to interact with people, and it's just not a cookie cutter every time.
Do you say to folks you do need insurance? Because there are people that say, I'm cutting back on things, and one of those things I'm cutting back on is we're not going to have life insurance, or you can't cut car insurance, you don't get a license. But there are some people that are looking at ways to say, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, in this economy that we're in right now, everybody's really concerned on price, because price is very, very important. But so is coverage, and an independent agent can at least explain to you what you're getting for your price. It's not exactly how much you buy, but really understanding what you've purchased.
So you teach those folks who come to you as well.
That is definitely the goal. The goal is definitely to teach them what they get. How much insurance they want to buy as an individual is totally up to them. But as long as they understand what they purchased and how much they paid for it, then we're much better off.
I know you mentioned to me that there are some legislative changes now that are going to affect insurance and how people buy insurance and what kind of coverage. Explain what's going on.
You know, it changes all the time. It's another reason to have an independent agent who can try to stay on top of all the changes. One of the major changes is with an ATV. A lot of people have these all-terrain type vehicles, and they've always been covered forever under your homeowner's policy. Well, recently with a change, the Bureau of Motor Vehicles has now made it, you have to register that ATV with
separately.
You have to register separately, so it has to be on an auto policy. So now it's no longer going to be covered under your homeowners. It has to go on your auto, and there was no publicity about this.
I was going to say, by the time someone finds that out, it's too late.
It's too late. So
oops.
It's a big oops. So you know, with changes like that happen all the time. It's nice to be able to call your agent and say, you know, and just ask the question right there. Is there any changes that we really should know about? And with the ATV one, that's kind of a big one that if anybody has an ATV out there, they really should get that on an auto policy, call their independent agent.
Okay, and before I let you go, I know it's spring, and I'll call you. Yeah, Mitchell Insurance, there you go. Before I let you go, real quick, it's spring. I know weather can wreak havoc and really cause damage on houses, so advice for folks about that. Advice
for folks about that is always check your homeowner's policy. Every time you get that renewal in the mail, call your agent or call us. But to check that, we had a small hailstorm in Grove City, and there's a little bit of damage with that. And now's not the time to wonder if you had the proper insurance or if you had enough, because it might be a little bit too late. I think it's all good advice, Rob, that we all kind of check our policies to see where we are with all of that and to review it. It's a good idea. That it is. Thanks for those reminders. Nice to have you, Rob. Not a problem. Thank you for you.